Welcome back to Reflect. My name is Brendan. Today, at a campaign rally, Donald Trump went too far and said that Kamala Harris was mentally disabled.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. Okay? She was born that way. And if you think about it, only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country. Anybody would know this.
Now, all of this reeks of desperation because Donald Trump is sliding in the polls. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is surging. All of this after the debate where, according to Donald Trump, a mentally disabled person absolutely wiped the floor with him, and the world got to see it. Let's go to the polls and take a look at where Donald Trump stands. That kind of helps to explain why he's lashing out. We have a couple polls from Arizona, which is kind of split between Kamala and Donald Trump. But in Georgia, we've got a poll where they're tied, and we've got a poll showing that Kamala has a 3% edge there. Meanwhile, in Maryland, she is whooping Donald Trump. In Michigan, a key state, she has a 5-point lead in one poll and a 3-point lead in another. She's got a 4-point lead in North Carolina. She's got a 7-point lead in Nevada. Two polls show her winning Pennsylvania 48-46 and 51-46. Virginia, big lead, and Wisconsin, a 3-point lead. People have called it time and time again. Chuck Schumer, political analyst, saying that as we get closer to the election and Donald Trump starts to slip and Kamala Harris starts to surge, he is going to lash out. And here it is. Here is Donald Trump. You know, we thought he had a floor when he made fun of the disabled reporter years ago, or at the Association of Black Journalists when he said that Kamala Harris turned black from being Indian in front of a black audience. We thought he couldn't stoop any lower, but the guy never fails to surprise us, never fails to remind us that this man is so unfit to serve. What's creepy about this is that he was reading his teleprompter. They wrote these remarks, him and his team. He okayed them. They all went with it, and they all looked at each other and said, yeah, let's call her mentally disabled. That's going to go far with the American people. Look, if we look at the debate and we saw what happened, he was erratic, he was offensive, and his polls dropped. Now he comes out, calls Kamala Harris mentally disabled. You better believe the American people are going to be up in arms, and it's only going to get worse for Donald Trump because, again, the guy doesn't learn his lesson. He continues with the erratic, offensive behavior, thinking that it's somehow going to shift the polls for him like it kind of did in 2015, 2016. It got him over the finish line against Hillary Clinton, but the American people have seen that trick before, and we are not amused. Count on Donald Trump sinking even further in the coming weeks and up until the election. Now, let's talk about the response from America. Largely, people are going to just be reminded that he's shameless, right? That he's a disgrace, that he's vile, and they're going to call him out for it. I think more so than we've ever seen. My question is, what is the Republican Party going to do? Right? Like, sure, we've got like the Mitt Romneys who's going to come out and say, like, of course, this is Donald Trump. This is who he is. But is anyone else going to like condemn him for this and criticize him and call him out, and instead of just taking it as, you know, the word of Donald Trump is the word of God for us Republicans? I mean, how low does he have to go? Where is your bar for finally coming out and saying, this is absolutely unacceptable? I mean, of course, if you were to ask, I'm sure, like myself or anyone of a reasonable intelligence, it would be, hey, you are definitely sliding in the polls. I don't even think that you belong in the presidency or at the head of the Republican Party. So I think you should step aside. But Republicans, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to say? What are you going to say if you're a Republican and you've got a family member who's disabled, or friends who have family members who are disabled? How are you going to look yourself in the mirror every day and say that you voted for this guy? The guy who is running one of the most embarrassing campaigns that we've ever seen. And this moment, this has to, this takes the cake, right, of a presidential campaign in modern political history, just being as embarrassing as possible and as cringy as possible. A former president calling a potential president, a presidential candidate, mentally disabled, and his crowd cheered them on, and he wrote those words, and his team wrote those words, and they all looked at each other and said, yeah, this is a good idea. Like, does it get any lower than this? It would shock me, but it's also Donald Trump. And he's also surrounded by his squad of goons who are disgusting and who don't really have a moral gauge to really kind of tell themselves no. So we've got about a month and a half left until the election day, and be ready, right? Because Donald Trump, he's going for the shock and awe campaign. Let me know what your thoughts are on Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris mentally disabled, the guy who is very clearly inferior mentally to Kamala. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, your reflections. Be sure to subscribe too, so that you get my future videos about the election in your inbox. My name's Brendan. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.